Hey everyone, hello. Welcome to the second week in a row of Market Trends. I am one of your hosts, Andy Hamilton. I am joined again by my wonderful co-host, Matt South. Matt, say what up.
Hey, how's it going? I'm the quarterback and face of the franchise for the Los Angeles Sharks.
That he is. And today we got a guest, as always, a special one today. We got Mike Osayi. Mike, how's it going, man?
Hey, how are you guys? Hi, I'm Mike Osayi. I'm the wide receiver and co-offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Crabs, and it's a pleasure to be on the show.
We're glad to have you, man.
Glad to have you, man.
So we are going to waste no time. We'll dive right into the picks for the week. Last week, some crazy stuff went down, guys. I think you would both agree with that. Some stuff I don't think anyone saw some of this happening. And so people are going to rely on these picks, as always, to kind of get their fantasy teams set up. We gave away $20 to the SFL shop last week to the winner, so I'm sure a lot of people are going to be vying for that prize this week. I don't know if it'll be the same or if it'll be different, but I need a new Skyhawk shirt, so I'm thinking if I can give you guys the right picks, hopefully I'll have the right picks, and we'll be able to get this thing going. Let's start off with you, Matt. Matt, who do you got for your first pick?
I got J. Calvin Kim. He rushed for 140 yards last week on 11 carries. That's right over 12 yards a carry, and he plays, I believe it was the 13th ranked rush defense last year. This season they played Sioux Falls first, Carolina did, and they held their generic running back to -4 yards is what Stats said. So I'm hoping that their run defense is just as bad as last year, and J. Calvin Kim's going to run all over them.
One thing you did not account for was that I was the defensive coordinator last year in Carolina, and we switched it. It's Shan now, so a little bit different of a build. I will warn fantasy users to keep that in mind. The first and second weeks are very tough for the season. It's hard to pull from last season. So I mean, you saw that in terms of play calling and stuff for week one. So I will caution that with Calvin Kim. Obviously, I am a little biased because I would prefer him to rush for -4 yards as well. But we'll see. I'm sure he'll get a few yards on us. We'll just see how many they are. Mike, let's toss it to you, man. Who do you got for your first pick this week?
My first pick this week's going to be Stevie T. Diggs. Last week, we saw the Roughnecks offense struggle a little bit, and I feel like they're going to need to prove themselves. Wavy, he had an okay game, but there was a lot of turnovers, so I think that the cornerbacks, either one's a good, but I'm going with Stevie because he's that silver weapon, and I think you can give him a good value, so I just want to see how they fare against the Roughneck offense.
Sure. He's only, I think it's $59.25 is all he costs, which is, I think, lower than what he costed last week. And last week he had that return for a touchdown. I'm not sure if that factors in as a cornerback or if that's part of the defense or what, but he had a good week last week, so I would assume he would do the same as well. So I like that pick a lot.
Great, that's a great pick.
With my first one, I'm going to go with Alexander Shaitovich, the wide receiver from Queen City. Hasn't played it down yet this season, but the guy was a boss last season as a bronze. I really think he could step up this year. Queen City can't run the ball every play. It's just not going to happen. Alex is their first receiver, and he's got a great matchup this week against St. Louis, who just got imploded by Tallahassee. I think this one will be a close one. It's going to come down to who wants it more in the fourth quarter, and I think Shaitovich could be there for a late touchdown. He's only $6,000 this week, so he's a little bit less than some of those stars. A little bit more of a gamble, but I like him to make a big splash this week in week one. Matt, let's toss it back to you, man. Who's your second pick?
Heath McDaniel Sr., he is the only linebacker for the Roughnecks. He's playing against the run-heavy Storm, who attempted 27 rushing attempts of Alaska last week. So I think for $3,000, he's a good bet to play against the Storm, who's the run-heavy offense. He's my second pick.
Not bad. We got his son, Heath McDaniel Jr., in Carolina, so I'm very familiar with the McDaniel family. Only want the best for him, except for when he's playing Carolina. All right, that also is the game of the week. I want to point that out. Alaska-Dallas, a real good matchup on game of the week. Dallas kind of surged ahead. Alaska stayed in their game enough to get the win there, so that'll be a good game on Saturday night, and I'll be doing it live. I'm pretty sure we'll have a post game too, so that'll be good if everyone can show up to that. And got Heath McDaniel Sr. on your fantasy team, it'll be good to watch him get a stab at the Alaska Storm. Mike, who else do you got?
This week, so my second pick's going to be Kale Barrett because the Hyenas, he'll be going up against the Bronze for most of the time, him being a silver, so I like that matchup. And I think that the offense is going to have a pretty good showing just in general, so I'll look to that for my second pick.
The Aztecs heading down to Houston to take on the Hyenas. That'll be interesting. Houston is the other team that has not played this season. Let's take a second and just talk about them. What do you guys think will happen in that side of Texas?
I think Houston will take them down. That's just me, though.
Mike, obviously you like the offense in Mexico City, so are you leaning on that side of the fence then?
I'm leaning on Mexico City just because I feel like once, Mexico, they've historically been, last year we saw them have that great, offensive surge early on, and I think once they get a system in place, they're very, very dangerous when they get the system in place, and I think they're going to work out some of the kinks from last week.
Sure. It's interesting sometimes how these picks work out. It's funny how we all line up in thought, but in different ways. I also have highlighted this matchup, and ironically, I'm going with Brandon Allen, the first cornerback for the Houston Hyenas, who is guarding Barrett. I know Mexico City loves to throw. Brandon Allen, I think he's a silver corner. He'll be $6,000. He's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way. It'll kind of be a 50-50 of whether he's going to come down with them or not. I think if Houston's defense game plans correctly, Brandon Allen could have a big day. He could possibly get a pick. We're talking about a mismatch there, the gold and the silver. So like I said, he's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way. Matt agrees with me. I think Houston has got something up their sleeve. Who knows if it'll work in week one, but it'll be there. They have the benefit of Mexico City not necessarily knowing exactly what they're going to do. So we'll have to see. I like Brandon Allen this week. So with that, we're going to go ahead and hop into who you guys don't like for the week. Matt, I know you on your fantasy team, you were talking about how you picked some players that were on buys.
Yeah.
So I guess, are you just going to pick all the players who aren't buys, or do you actually have a choice for us this week?
That was a good one.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you.
I got Austin Broadway this week. He had about, I think it was 13 tackles against Carolina last week. So he had a big play in the run game. He's playing Baltimore this week. They're not a very run-heavy team. Actually, last week they attempted to throw the ball 45 times in the blistering cold up in Alaska.
Sure.
I'm expecting more attempts from Merstelli since they're playing at home. And he's one of 3 bronze linebackers out in Sioux Falls. I just think he's too much of a gamble.
No, he's a sparrow, not a gambler.
Oh.
Sorry, I think you got that one confused. Mike, let's go to you, man. Who would you not pick this week if you had to keep in mind?
This week I'm saying that the Sharks running back Doug Bose is going against a tough run defense in Oklahoma City. They had a great run defense last week, and I know it's only one game, but I was really impressed with that attack. So I'm going to say the Sharks might throw a little bit more this week to counter what we saw last week.
I hope so.
That would sure give Matt some of his confidence back. I hadn't mentioned it, but all 3 of us were losers last week, so we're all 3 going into this week hoping for a little bit more. So I guess if we have one common thread, we all want to improve. So we'll see how that'll go. This week, I'm urging fantasy users to stay away from a Mr. Jalen Thomas. He had a decent game last week against Tallahassee in terms of play. He looked solid. They're using him in terms of scrambling a little bit, which to me sounds a little dangerous. He took a few too many hits he did.
Tell me about it.
He would roll out of the pocket and just get nailed, or he would try and run for some yards. And the one thing I don't want to see is anyone lose fantasy points for a player being knocked out of the game. With receivers and running backs, you kind of have to deal with it. Quarterback, though, you're going to want that player in the game. And with that comes his value. He's $8,903 can't remember what tier he is. He might be a gold.
I'd say at 8,000 he is.
It'll obviously say in the paper, but for the risk and the Queen City, who's got big Mr. Ed Ritter on that defensive line, as well as I think they have a defensive end as well. Jalen Thomas could be in some trouble come this matchup. So I would urge fantasy users and owners to stay away from him this week. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move to our pick'em. Last week, I'd like to put that behind me. I went 1-5, so I take the bottom seat in that one. The guest, we had Max Paul with us last week. You can check that out on the SFL YouTube page if you missed it. He went 2-4 last week, so he'll take the second spot. And coming in at a measly 500, Matt South went 3-3. And I'm going to insert the fart noise here for how terrible that 500 is. So let's head into this week. I'm going to try my best to go with what I think are safe bets as opposed to picking outside of the lines here. So our first game this week, Queen City 0-0 heading to St. Louis, who lost last week to Tallahassee. Matt, who you got?
I got Queen City.
All right, I as well will take Queen City. Mike?
And I have Queen City as well.
A clean sweep for the Corsairs. Matt, go ahead and hop on this one. What do you think's going to happen?
We didn't get to watch them much last week because they were on a bye, but St. Louis got a pounding from Tallahassee. So
Good point.
Queen City's a 3-time champion, and I think they're going to bring it back to St. Louis, but I hope they get their season turned around after this beatdown.
After this beatdown. It's a nice way of complimenting your opponents and telling them to do well. All right, Carolina at Tallahassee. Carolina losing last week to Sioux Falls. Tallahassee handed down that beatdown to St. Louis. Who you guys got? Matt?
Tallahassee.
I have Carolina. Mike, who you got?
I have Tallahassee.
Mike, go ahead and break this one down for us.
All right, Tallahassee was really hot last week against the Gladiators, 52-13. That's an amazing win. That's good on all facets of the game. I think Johnny English is poised to have a good game for Carolina, but Tallahassee just looking so crisp and poised last week. They're a danger. They're a threat.
I can understand and will keep myself tight-lipped until next Monday is when the games are. All right. Mexico City heading to Houston to take on the second team that is 0-0. Mexico City losing the very close game in the Winter of Alaska last week. Matt, who you got?
Mexico City.
All right, I have Mexico City as well. Mike, how about you?
I have Mexico City.
The Aztecs get their first win if everything goes according to plan. I'll take this one. Houston, a new team. I think they're going to be good this season. I like their halfback, Deion Hawkins. He's going to run all over the place in terms of this season. This game, though, I don't think so. I think Mexico City's going to blow them out of the water through the air, and Houston's going to have a hard time coming back. With that said, though, I did pick Brandon Allen. I think he has a chance to make some plays. So just trying not to cross myself over here. Hope everyone can keep that straight. Sioux Falls heading to Baltimore to take on the Crabs. Baltimore losing in a game to Atlanta last week that everyone kind of assumed that they would just walk through. And Sioux Falls beating Carolina at home in the snow. Matt, who you got?
Oof, I got Sioux Falls.
Okay, I'm going to take Baltimore. Mike?
I'm also taking Baltimore.
All right, this one is me. I played Sioux Falls last week. The snow, I would say, helped them a little bit. They also had an impeccable game plan. But as we saw, with the -4 rushing yards, they do stick primarily to the pass and in a heavy favor of the deep pass. I think if you take plays over probably 30 or 40 yards out of that equation and game completely, I don't know if they scored more than once or twice, including the kick return. So I think they're a big play team. They're looking to blow you out of the water over the top. And if I know anything about Baltimore, they game plan very well on defense. They know exactly what you're going to do, and they can defend it pretty well. I'm looking for a close one. I think Baltimore's offense gets their first win, and we see some more parity in the power rankings, which you all should submit to, because we only had 11 or 12 submissions last week, and that is abysmal. All right, next game, Oklahoma City heading to LA to take on the Sharks. The Sharks losing to the Gamblers in kind of an upset, and Oklahoma City beating Dallas in kind of an upset. Matt, who you got?
Los Angeles.
All right, I am going with LA as well. Mike?
I got OKC in this one.
All right, and this one is to you, Mike.
OKC had the great run support, like I said earlier last week, and I feel like they're going to stop down that primary run game. And OKC has a little bit of that momentum going, so I look for them to continue on their momentum. But I'll say this, the Sharks get going early and their offense can pick it up, that they can make this a very exciting game.
Sure. I know you warned to stay away from the big guy, Doug Bose. But, hey, if you get that guy rolling, man, he might go downhill and just running some people straight over. I'm sure Matt has seen it up close and personal in practice. So hopefully Matt can just keep his feet out of the way and not twist any ankles this week heading into the OKC game. And our last game, the game of the week, Alaska, who's coming off that fresh win against Mexico City, heading down to Dallas to the heat of Texas to take on the Dallas Roughnecks, who lost last week to Oklahoma City after jumping out to an early lead. Matt, who you got?
I got Alaska.
All right, I am going to take Dallas in this one. Mike, who you got?
I'm going Alaska.
Ooh, some parity here. Matt, this one goes to you, buddy.
I think they're going to open up more with a passing, or not a passing attack, but more so than rushing 27 times in the cold, because they only got 2.7 yards a carry last week. So I think with Murdoch Mock and his receivers, Optimus Kleins and Robert Merrill, I think we're going to see some more passing attempts than just handing the ball off to Justin Beakley Jr. every time.
It's quite possible. Some good games this week. We only swept 2 games. I think last week we swept at least 3 or 4 in terms of our picks. So some more parity there. Some good picks, I think, in fantasy. Mike, did you play fantasy last week, man?
No, I get a chance to play fantasy last week.
Oh, man, you got to. Some good stuff. Some good prizes. I think we had 49 players last week. So it would be nice to have close to those same numbers again. So when you're setting your fantasy lineup, make sure you do it. Make sure you talk about it in the SFL Fantasy page on Slack. Let everyone know who was some good picks for you. And then if any of you guys have suggestions for who we should look at, who we're missing, shoot me a message on Slack. I'm always open to hearing. As well as if you want a guest spot on the show, I have a list. I have a list going. I'd be more than happy to fit you in at some point. Heck, next show, if we're getting popular enough, we might do 2 guests. Who knows?
There we go.
Who knows? All right, that is all for today. I'm your host, Andy Hamilton, signing off. But before we do, as always, we're going to give our one last big thing to look out for heading into this week. So let's start with Mike. Mike, go ahead, man. What do you got for your last shout-out?
I'm saying Alaska's defense, and they can do some big damage. I've seen what Max can do in Baltimore, so look out for Alaska's defense to make some big plays.
Fair enough. Let's go to you, Matt. Matt, what do you got?
I'm looking for Tallahassee to run all over Carolina this week. Jake Calvin Kim really impressed me last week, and I think he's going to do it again against the 13th ranked rush defense last year.
I feel like Matt's just taking a shot at me for what I said about him earlier that made him all sad. It's not impossible. I'm looking at this Alaska-Dallas matchup. I think it's as close as can be, man. The only thing I'm going to say, tune in on Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Show me some love in the chat. I think last week I ignored the chat completely. This week I think I'm going to open it up. I'm going to watch it. So if you're in there, please say something to me. Say hello. Let me know how I'm doing. And if you have anything valuable to contribute, heck, I'll throw you in the broadcast. How about that? With that said, this is all for market trends for this week. We will see you guys next week. Peace.